So, this might be a weird recording. I have a couple of guests in the apartment this weekend. I'll show you what I mean, actually. We got number one. Hi, Letty. And then over here we got Luna. So you might hear them in the background a little bit, or you can kind of see some of Luna's bed over there, but that's what that's all about. Nevertheless, today we're talking about Harley Quinn's first ever solo issue. Harley is able to engineer the escape of her beloved Joker by disguising herself as her other beloved, Poison Ivy. The mad couple are delighted to be reunited, and together they escape the prison and rejoin their gang within Gotham City. The Joker still appears dazed and out of sorts after the escape, asking for water, which Harley rushes off to get. When she leaves, the Clown Prince of Crime changes his demeanor, revealing he has been playing sick in order to manipulate Harley. When one of his goons joins in mocking her, the Joker forces the man to light a gag cigar, blowing his head clean off. It's easy enough to pass off the corpse as the result of a horrible accident to Harley, and the Joker orders her to begin the infiltration of a new Batman-themed amusement park with their crew, as the new park has offended the villain's sensibilities. The mission goes well, excessively so, to the extent that Harley begins to win over the Joker's men with her impressive organization and clever techniques, much to the annoyance of the Joker. During the infiltration, the real Poison Ivy confronts Harley over her actions. Ivy is insulted that Harley would use Pamela's image to break him out of jail. She's also upset on a deeper level. Harley is a clever, strong, intelligent woman, while all the Joker ever does is use and abuse her. Later, the Joker arrives at the theme park and proceeds to shoot Harley. It is revealed shortly after that Ivy disguised herself as Harley to prove the Joker's true nature. Joker and Harley begin to battle, and Harley manages to incapacitate the Joker by throwing him into an electric sign. The Clown Prince of Crime is promptly arrested. Though the police are grateful, the theme park is badly damaged and will have to be built from scratch. The owner of the theme park, a businessman named Mr. Happy, swears he will find this woman and take his revenge on her. Not too far away, Harley and Ivy talk together on a rooftop. Ivy survived the gunshot just fine, and Harley can't believe that the Joker tried to kill the woman. When Ivy points out that it wasn't her the Joker was trying to kill, Quinn understands. She can't believe the Joker wanted to kill Ivy because Harley knows for a fact the Joker was trying to kill her. So before we get any further into this thing, I do ask if you enjoyed this video to subscribe to our channel and check out our Patreon page in the video description below. Today we're looking at the second issue in a mini-series I'm running called Random Reviews, the Joker Edition. We're looking at 10 completely random comics, all featuring this famous villain in various roles, and this one is particularly noteworthy. It's really cool and a pretty fun coincidence that not only did we get a Harley Quinn comic, but we got her first ever Harley Quinn solo comic. Harley Quinn is a very cool fixture in the history of the Joker, so I'm glad we get to take a moment and consider her role in the character's history. She is, after all, a relatively late addition in the world of Batman, certainly compared to the Joker, as while the Joker has been around for almost 80 years, Harley in comparison has only been around since the 1990s. And uniquely, she was introduced not in the comics, but in the well-regarded Batman the Animated Series. She became such a popular character that within a year she would already be adapted into the comics in 1993. Harley is one of the biggest characters in terms of DC's ability to sell merchandise, and is a really important choice in terms of cosplay, thanks to her various appearances in costumes over the years, allowing for a lot of flexibility and fun when it comes to designing Harley Quinn outfits. And she already has a major part of the DCEU, part of the first Suicide Squad movie, and will basically be a main character in the Birds of Prey movie. I quite enjoyed dialing the clock back to the year 2000 to see what her first solo comic was like. Again, this isn't Harley's first appearance ever in the comics. That actually happened 7 years prior to Harley Quinn #1. But it is the start of her first solo series, something that became quite commonplace for this character in the modern age. What truly blows my mind about all of it is just how much has already been worked out about her character. Already we've established how terrible the Joker is. Her and Ivy's relationship is already clearly apparent at this point too. We see Harley making those first unsure steps towards being more of a hero and less of a villain. It would almost be disheartening since it means that Harley's character has barely moved an inch in the 19 years since this comic first came out. But to be fair, there's some mitigating factors that kind of make that okay. For one thing, Harley still has a long way to go before she starts really thinking herself as a hero, even if her character is already kind of there. And it would still be some time before she would ever quite escape that villain moniker, or even properly start her tenure on the Suicide Squad, which didn't come about until the New 52 era. It's also very relevant that she underwent at least a partial reboot for the New 52 to begin with. But as for this issue, well, Carl Kessler does a great job at making Harley's character really easy to follow and relate to in this comic. The way she's able to lead the Joker's gang so successfully that she's able to sort of win them over and they're giving her high fives is adorable, while also speaking volumes about Harley's relative level of competency compared to the Joker. And while the comic doesn't outright state this, there's really no other way to interpret the stuff between Harley and Ivy without involving the notion of romantic feelings between these two. It really impresses me how much of this was already figured out in the year 2000, like I said. A big selling point is also the art by Terry Dodson, Rachel Dodson, Alex St. Clair, and Ken Lopez. Together they have rendered a beautiful comic full of color and light. Its style in terms of character design and detail reminds me a lot of Batman the Animated Series, with one key difference. Everything in this Harley comic is far brighter and more colorful than the usual tone and colors of the Batman show. That's very appropriate given the differences between Harley and Batman's characters, and on the whole this is one of the best looking and best written introductions to a Harley Quinn series I've ever read. But still, it's very impressive that this first one ever was so good. This is just good, period. Not for a first comic, not for a Harley Quinn series, or even for a superhero comic. It's just a good issue all on its own. I found the character work compelling and the ending a nice little moment for Harley, setting up her series and where her arc can go from here. We're dealing with really dark issues of abuse and a damaged psyche of somebody who cannot escape their abuser without any direct coercion needed. Harley seeks out the Joker time and time again, even though he treats her terribly. It's a very sinister and dark topic, but wisely, Kessel doesn't let that overwhelm the nature of Harley Quinn #1 or Harley Quinn's character in general. As for the Joker, he's in this story quite a bit and is about right on target for making him an effective modern comic book villain. There's a lot of the old Joker in this particular comic. He's petty, funny, and kind of goofy, more driven by impulse than chaos, but there is a darker bent to him. I really like how he outright shoots who he thinks is Harley in this comic. Harley Quinn #1 really doesn't pull back or oversimplify their relationship in this regard. Rather, it makes it clear, perhaps way better than I've ever seen before, just how bad the Joker is for Harley's overall well-being. This has been done a lot before, but there's something about this particular take I really like. He shoots her in cold blood. I can't get over that. It turned out not to be Harley, sure, but he didn't know that, and the implications of this aren't lost on Harley. The second she starts to flourish, the Joker saw fit to outright try and murder her. She wasn't fun for him anymore, and therefore lost all value in his lies. And when Harley confronts him about it, she even shows a willingness to forgive him, so he proceeds to pistol whip her. This is really dark stuff. There aren't a lot of examples of the Joker and Harley getting much darker beyond just a handful of implications. But this comic presents things so well that it's able to get really explicit about all this stuff and not feel overly dark and edgy. There's a cartoony and fun element to this comic until you start to think about what you're seeing and reading for more than 10 seconds. The breezy and fun tone of Harley Quinn and the comic itself is hiding its true nature just under the surface. And when you discover that as a reader, there's a sense of finding something you didn't even know was there to begin with. A sense of surprising depth I really appreciated. And that's about it for this particular comic. I definitely recommend you check it out for yourself, and personally might be checking out more of this series on my own going forward. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep reading comics.